We'll wait for 2 minutes. Attendees are coming in. We'll wait for 2 minutes.
Just give me 1 more minute, I'll be back.
Yeah, sure. Let's start, Jafar.
Yes, sure. Warm good evening to all. Beautiful evening. And as part of our 14th session of Leadership Lecture Series, we invite you all to this great evening. I am Jawhar Babu. I am the Assistant Vice President here at the Alumni and Corporate Relationship Office, IIT Madras. With me is my colleague Shweta Bhupati, and I have our student Kimaya, Civil Engineering. We would be hosting this evening for you. Part of this leadership lecture series, we have the industry leaders addressing our students on various topics. And today it is a double delight. We have an industry leader who is also an alum too. I welcome Mr. Naveen Tahilyani, the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Tata AIA Insurance. Mr. Naveen is a 1995 batch alum, completed his Electronics and Communication from IIT Madras, post which he did graduate out of IIM Ahmedabad, completing his PGD BM. Mr. Naveen has over 2 decades of rich experience in insurance, banking, and asset management. He associated with Tata AIA in 2015 as CEO and MD. During his stint, where he did transform the organization by turning around its vital metrics and capturing Tata AIA from the 17th position in the market to number 1 in a span of 3 years. Wow, that's a great story, sir. We would love to hear how this turnaround happened and what are all the takeaways what you would like to share to our students too. And prior to Tata AIA, Mr. Naveen served as a senior partner at McKinsey and Company. Today, he's here to join us this session. The session is after Tata AIA's comeback story, profitable growth, enabling a redefined purpose, differentiated strategy, execution excellence, and culture transformation. So, Mr. Naveen, over the next 45 minutes, would be giving us a broader perspective and narrating us how he did all that. And before we get to the actual session, I would want all the participants, whatever the questions you have, please post it in the Q&A for us to take up all the questions towards the end of the session. Mr. Naveen, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Jawahar Babu. Good evening to all of you. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be with all of you today. It's fantastic to virtually come back to IIT Madras. As Jawar Babu mentioned, I passed out in 95, Mandap Hostel, and I believe now it is a brand new, swanky, big building. And we are now so used to the digital world that we are doing this as a matter of routine. But I really hope to be at campus sooner rather than later, and to see the campus and interact with as many people as possible physically. So thank you for the opportunity today. I think you oversold our story a little bit in the introduction. We moved from number 17 to number 5 and a little better, but not number 1. Number 1 is still a little distance away from us, but happy to share. Now I understood when I spoke to some of the colleagues that this is a leadership lecture series, and I don't have much gyan to give in terms of leadership. So I just thought, I'll share a little bit what we have been doing in our organization in very simple terms, and what has led to, our kind of growth, our transformation, our own change journey. What does it look like and what has contributed to that? Before I want kind of get into it, I would just say, if there is one thing I would like the audience to take away from today's discussion, that one thing is about teamwork. And I think in real life, teamwork is very important for success. And teamwork means knowing your role, knowing how to have complementary skills, knowing what team to build around you, and kind of creating a common vision and working as a team towards that common vision with relentless pace and with high quality execution. But if you don't have the right team and if you don't have the right teamwork, then anything else, however good your strategy is, however inspiring your vision is, however flawless you want the execution to be, I don't think any of that can materialize. So without further ado, let me just share a few slides, and I'll speak for maybe 25 to 30 minutes, and then we can take questions, if that's okay. So we've kind of labeled today's session as 0.2x to 20x, and to kind of explain as we go through this what these numbers look like. For all of you engineering students, there is no high funda math over here. It's very simple math that we will talk through. So firstly, let me just talk a little bit about life insurance and just demystify that a little bit for you. So what is life insurance? Life insurance is simply saying that if you have somebody who is a productive member of the society in terms of earning an income, should something happen to her or him, you take the present value of all the future income that person would earn and give that to the person's nominee or to the family. And our challenge in India is that in many households, in a vast variety of households, vast majority of households, we have only one bread earner. And God forbid something happens to that bread earner. We've seen families actually get devastated because of that, of course, emotionally, but also financially. And I think what life insurance does is offers protection against that financial devastation. At least we can't do anything for the emotional loss, which of course is like a hammer blow to the family, but we can mitigate that loss through the financial backstop that we provide. Now, as I said, life insurance is simply meant to be the present value of all future income. So if somebody is 50 years old, let's imagine that they would have worked for another 10-15 years. Should something happen to them, the income that they would have earned for the next 10-15 years discounted to today is the cover they should have. Now, if you take this simple formula and apply it to the population of India, what you find is that the protection gap in the country is 83%. The gap is 83%, which means that an average Indian has a cover which is only 17% of what they deserve. And this gap in India, if I compare it to other markets in Asia or the developed markets, is, in my knowledge, the highest in the world. There may be some smaller countries which have even higher protection gap. but definitely in the top 10, 15, 20 economies in the world, and India is right up there, it's a top 5 economy today. In the top 20 economies in the world, this gap is the highest. And if you kind of try to quantify this into rupees, then that's the number in front of you. This is 1.2 into 10 to the power 15, 1.2 quadrillion Indian rupees, 17 trillion US dollars. It's a massive gap. It's a massive problem, but at the same time, it's a massive opportunity for life insurance. And in some ways, life insurance is important for each and every one of us. It's a common good, and it is something that we need to kind of take to each and every citizen of the country. It's yet another number to just share how big the opportunity is. Penetration here means life insurance premiums divided by GDP. It's only 3.2%. Some of the larger economies have this number closer to 15-20%. Again, it's a simple way of saying that the industry today should be 5 times, 6 times bigger than what it is right now. The structure of the industry, you have LIC, which on the retail side today has a market share of about 35 to 40%. Then you have 23 private sector players. And if you look at the top 4 in the private sector as of last year, all the top 4 are backed by banks. So you have SBI Life, HDFC Life, ICICI Prudential, and Max Life. They are all owned by banks. The first 3 are obvious. They are owned by SBI, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and Max is owned by Axis Bank. And our country has evolved in a way such that banks are a very large part of the distribution story of life insurance. This is not the case in many other Asian markets. Many other Asian markets, life insurers have their own distribution, which is called agency. But India has evolved slightly differently. And therefore, if you are backed by a bank or owned by a bank, you have significant distribution advantage and therefore significant advantage in the league tables. Now, Tata AIA, who are we? We are 51% owned by Tata Group, 49% owned by AIA. Tata Group, I think, needs no introduction to anybody over here in India. AIA is also about 110-year-old company, but in its current listed avatar, it is 12 years old. It is today the largest insurance company in the world by market cap, about $160 billion of market cap. And they are focused only on life insurance and they are present only in Asia. Deep expertise in life insurance, and they own 49% of Tata AIA. So we have 2 very powerful parents, 2 great brands, 250 years of combined heritage between the Tata Group and the AIA Group, which are time-tested institutions in many ways. So let's talk a little bit about our journey quickly, Tata AIA journey. Let me start with where we were 7 years ago, 2015, and this is where we'll talk about the 0.2x first. And the 0.2x is just talking about the fact that we lost market share and we lost a lot of our position in the industry between 2010 and 2015. Why? Because in 2010 and 14, there were 2 big regulatory discontinuities, which changed the nature of the products that could be offered. And the whole industry kind of stagnated in this period. But I think if you had to pick one loser in this period, it was Tata AIA. And these numbers are new business premium numbers, which is basically premiums that we collect from customers, new customers in a financial year. And that collapsed from 1,100 crores to about 240 crores. And that's the kind of 0.2x that we are talking about as the first number. As was mentioned in the introduction, we were in 2015 17th out of 23 players. I'm not even counting LIC. LIC at that time had an even larger market share than what they enjoy today. But we were 17th out of 23 on retail new business premium. Our market share was less than 1%. 1% is a little bit of a charity over here. It was 0.8%. So hardly relevant in the market. Our persistency, which means that if you acquire customers worth 100 rupees this year, how much premium do you collect from them next year? It was only 75 rupees. So we were losing 25% of our premiums just by the next year, which was not a good situation. Our claim settlement ratio was only 94%. The reason I'm saying only 94% is that best companies have this number upwards of 98, close to 99%. And in that sense, while 94% seems a good number, if you think about the percentage of claims you were not paying was 6%, whereas the best companies in the market were not paying claims worth 1 to 2%. Our employees, you can imagine, were not happy. Employee engagement score was only 73. Obviously, with a franchise which is not going anywhere, you can't expect to have happy employees. But one thing which was true was that the employees were very loyal to Tata AI, and they were keen to make a difference, to the fortunes of the company. Where are we now? I'll kind of talk a little bit about that, and then talk a little bit about how it happened. And that's where we'll talk a little bit about the 20x number, which is the second number in the title of my presentation. So now 7 years later, and this data is as of last fiscal year, which ended in March 2022. Our new business premium has grown from 240 crores to 4,900 crores roughly. So we took the liberty of calling it 20x. And that's been a great growth journey for us. And obviously, we have been the fastest growing life insurance company over this period in the industry. Obviously comes from a small base, but to touch about 5,000 crores of new business premium has been a good achievement. If you look at our total premium is just, I think the best way to think of this is the revenue of the company. The revenue of the company has expanded from about 2,000 crores to about 14,000 crores. And in this year, we will cross 20,000 crores. So, that's good, grown 7x in the last 7 years. If you look at our rank from 17th, we have climbed up to 5 as of last year. And as you can see, there is not much of a gap between 5 and 4 and 3. There is a gap. Number 1 is still far ahead. But, when you look at 5 and 4 and 3, there's not much of a gap. And, we've kind of jumped 12 places over the last 7 years. Market share, which was less than 1%, has crossed 8%. And that's kind of reflected in the previous numbers that I mentioned. In something called protection, which is one line of business that we do, and I would argue the core line of business that any life insurance should be doing, we are actually number 1. So as was mentioned in the introduction, we are number 1, but we are number 1 in one line of business. Overall, we are number 5. But we are very proud of the fact that in this line of business, we are number 1, because fundamentally, our DNA is of protection, and protection is what this country needs, and protection is what life insurance should be doing, because savings, which is the other line of business, customers have many avenues to save. They have banks, they have mutual funds, they have government schemes, they have share market, right? But life insurance and protection only, this sector can provide. And in this, not only are we number 1, but our market share is upwards of 21% compared to less than 1% in 2015. We have the most productive agency in the country. I mentioned to you, top 4 players are all bank-owned. So we had to build out our own agency, our own distribution. And on productivity, which is measured as total revenue or total premium divided by number of agents or divided by number of branches, we are number 1 in the industry. Our growth from other partnership distribution like banks and brokers, that's grown off a very small base by about 90 times. We've invested a lot in digital channels, in self-service. So that's increased from 60% to 87%, which is amongst the highest in the industry today. Our persistency, which you saw was 75% in 2015, is now up to 89%. And again, very happy to share that we are number 1 on this metric in the entire industry. And our claim settlement ratio is coming in the zone where we are, as of last year, amongst the top 3 in the industry at 98.5%. So closer to the number that we want to get to, which is 99%, and then cross that number. If you look at our number of employees in the last few years, we've expanded. So number of people has gone from about 2,000 to about 10,000, so 5 times. And while the number of employees has expanded 5 times to cross 10,000, making us a material company in terms of size of employees and total premium, which is 14,000 crores, productivity is increased about 4 times, from about 1 lakh to about 4 lakhs, which is on the right hand side. And our employee engagement score has crossed 90. We are told in financial services, this is the highest in the industry. And we are, for 6 years in a row, we've won the Best Employer Award. So how did this happen? Right, so clearly, I mean, the transformation journey has been an incredible turnaround story, recognizing and underlining the fact that we still have a long way to go. By no means are we done. We are in the journey, and by definition, this journey doesn't end. But if I had to pick on what has caused some of this change, I want to talk about 4 things. I think one is having a very clear, powerful mission statement, and talking about that with the top team and with the employees at large. Second is being bold and having a differentiated strategy. You can't catch up with the market leaders by doing what they are doing and hoping to do it better. Third is execution excellence. There is a lot of glamour value attached to strategy, rightly so. For 18 years, I worked with McKinsey, and there was always a premium to thinking through the best strategy for a company. Absolutely, that is true. But there is equal premium to thinking through how will that best strategy translate into execution excellence on the ground. And last but not the least, this is a people business. We are not into high-tech manufacturing where machines and robots will do the stuff for us. Our only asset is our people, our 10,000 plus people as we speak today. So how do we create the right culture? How do we nurture our people? How do we motivate them, inspire them? Has been the 4th area that we've been focusing on. I'll talk about each one of these very quickly. And I'll not go through each and every line here, but when we crafted our vision in 2015-16, you will see there, this vision has remained intact for the last 6 years now. We said we will be the preeminent protection provider. I mean, this was a company which was number 17, less than 1% market share. Nobody in the market was doing protection. And we said that, we will create the protection category in the market. And not only that, but we will be preeminent. And as I showed you earlier, we have not become preeminent, but we have become number 1 as far as this entire space is concerned. The reason I'm highlighting that is very often we believe that these mission statements are nice English words to put on, boardroom walls or on the screensaver, or to tweet about. But really, vision, mission, values should drive the strategy of the company. And coming out from this vision to be the preeminent protection provider, we kind of work backwards and reverse engineered our products, our process, our technology, our consumer approach to be the best in that part of the business. Similarly, if I look at the mission, right, it's not fluff. To provide the best and simplest life and health insurance solutions, each and every word there has a meaning. For example, if I pick up the word solutions, what solutions means is that when we approach a customer, we don't try to sell only one product. We try to meet a financial need, and to meet a financial need means you may have to actually convince the customer to purchase 1, 2, 3, 4 products. Because different products meet different financial needs. Similarly, there's a deep implication of our values to how we operate. I'll not go through the detail, but what I want to share with all of you is that using this vision, mission, values, we've been able to kind of convey a consistent set of messages to our vast number of employees. And not only that, everything that we do, every strategy that we design, we kind of go back and test it against this vision, mission, and values and say, is it true to who we want to be and what we aspire to be? The second thing is differentiated strategy. I kind of talked a little bit about the fact that nobody was doing protection and we innovated there. Similarly, we innovated in guaranteed return solutions. So 7 years ago, the industry was, without getting too technical about it, selling what is called participating products, where the return to the customer was not transparent. We came in, we guaranteed the return to the customer. But when you guarantee a return to the customer, you have to guarantee that you will earn that return yourself. And therefore, we had to go and write derivatives to hedge those returns. Now, nobody was writing derivatives in this market at that time. So we literally worked with the banks to create that derivative market. And, today we are the largest players, the largest customers of banks in that derivative market. But on the back of that innovation, we were able to offer great products to our customers. Third piece, I talked about the fact that we don't have any group banks, so we had to build our own agency model. And we took a call that we will build agency not in terms of numbers, but in terms of productivity and quality, because we want every agent to earn a certain minimum from Tata AI. And earn enough such that, they are able to take care of their families, so that as far as possible, this becomes their full-time job, this becomes their full-time profession. To give you a sense, we are number 4 in agency. Overall, we are number 5. But if you just look at the agency channel, we are number 4. But we have only 50,000 agents. And if I pick the player who is number 3, they have about 200,000 agents. So they have 4 times our number of agents, but what they do in agency is probably 20% more than what we do. And that's why the productivity of our agency is the best in the industry, which is the chart that I showed you earlier. The third piece is that you have to be focused on execution excellence. So every time, we have a value, I didn't talk about it, called consumer obsession. So we said, what does this value of consumer obsession mean? It means that every process where the customer interacts with us, we will go back and deconstruct that process and see how we can improve it. Today, I'm very happy to share that our net promoter score is a measure of saying how happy are your customers with you, roughly. Our net promoter score as of last month, May, I can share with you, has crossed 70, which I think is the highest in the life insurance industry. Nobody has a net promoter score of 70. And again, it has come through painstaking efforts over the last 7 years to deconstruct each and every aspect of the business model. Similarly, I talked about highest productivity agency. Now, today, if you talk to our agents, they have a technology platform, they have an app by which, they have everything that they need on their mobile or on their tablet, whether it is to do new business, whether it is to service customers, whether it is to, manage their own activities. I will not describe that in detail, but it is a distinctive asset for us in terms of design and in terms of the way we have used technology to deliver that to our 50,000 plus agents. So thinking through each aspect of execution, which kind of comes from the overall vision, values, and strategy, I think has been super critical for us. And last but not the least, as I said, it's all about people. You can't do any of the 3 things that I talked about so far without the right team. So it took us some time in between 2015 and 2016 to get the right leadership team in place. And that was a rebuild phase for us in terms of the top team. But then also on the ground, incentivizing performance in a very differentiated manner, making sure that we were building the capability of our employees. Today, one of the other things I'm very happy to share with you is that our attrition is the lowest in the life insurance industry, the lowest. And that's because, of course, we have the Tata brand, we have the AIA brand, people want to work with a Tata Group company which is doing well, growing, there are opportunities for people. But it's also because we take a lot of effort and energy to build the capability of our people. We are very selective about our recruitment, very sharp about our recruitment. We use a lot of analytics models to recruit people on the ground. But once they are in, we also invest and over-invest in building their capability and making them successful and hand-holding. And we are not a brutal hire and fire culture. Some of that comes from our Tata legacy, which I am very proud of. But it also means that we have to do tangible things to make our people succeed. And that is why I believe that we have the highest employee engagement of 91 in the entire industry. 91 was the score I shared for last year. And I think this combination of the right leadership team and energized, motivated, capable, engaged employees, all the way down to the 10,000 plus employees that we have, is being the central pillar. Although I'm talking about it as number 4, it's been the central pillar of our success. So 0.2x from 2010 to 2015, 20x from 2015 to 2022. So what's next? First 2 months of this fiscal year, we have only accelerated in the line of business that we were number 1. We have remained number 1, but our market share has expanded to 28% compared to 21% last year. And again, this comes on the back of the fact that we continue to innovate in protection, I think better than almost anybody else in this market. I also mentioned that while we are number 1 in this line of business, we are number 5 overall as of last year, which when you include savings business as well. In the month of May, we have climbed to number 3 from number 5. And, I think we've been able to break a glass ceiling because, as I said, the top 4 have been all bank-owned players. So for us to disrupt the industry order as a non-bank-owned player and climb to number 3 has been an interesting milestone where we've kind of broken a glass ceiling, and our market share for the first time has kind of touched 10%. But we know that this is a journey which by definition never ends, right? I mean, this is a journey of continued excellence. And therefore, it's quite important that we remain humble, we remain grounded, we remain, as somebody once told me, with your head in the clouds, but feet on the ground. Head in the clouds so that, your vision is more panoramic. You can imagine the possibilities, you can see the future, you can dare to dream, you can dare to experiment. But feet on the ground so that, you're always in touch with reality and you know what it takes to, kind of work with and deliver results with a large number of colleagues, 10,000 plus colleagues. By the end of this year, as I said, on total revenue, we'll cross 20,000 crores. We will be about 14,000 people. We will add another 3,500 odd people this year. And we will continue our journey of excellence in protection. We'll continue to focus on our consumers. We'll continue to, build passionate teams. We will continue to get better as a senior leadership team to work together. We'll continue to invest in technology because that's changing very rapidly. Digital is the new buzzword. I didn't talk enough about it, but I'm happy to take questions. And we'll continue to leverage technology and digital to go better and better. So I'll pause here. That's all I had to share in terms of a set presentation. But if there are any questions or any comments, very, very happy to take those.
That is really amazing, sir. 1% in 2015 to 10% this year, and a staggering revenue of 20,000 crore and 14,000 employees. So such a mammoth operation, but in a synchronized way, running such an enterprise and staying on top on protection. It's really, I'm sure that secret sauce, what you did share with us, it's really inspiring. And of course, each one recasting vision, differential strategy, it's really amazing. And though we know that the market is so big, 17 trillion USD, and insurance as a business is very complex and highly competitive. And under your leadership, the company has managed to, sort of break the glass ceiling and to be the third position. It's, we really sort of proud to have our alumni at helm drive all this. Now I'll hand over to Kimaya to have students' questions to Mr. Naveen. And sir, I had one question. Though you did mention about banks having their channels, and the cost of reaching or acquisition should have been lesser for them. But when you want to build your own distribution network and reach out to the mass, I'm sure the cost of acquisition should have actually been higher. So how did you manage to handle that cost pressure? Because then the market share was also less, and the sum assured or the revenues were at 2000, from 1100 crores we dipped to 2240 crore in 2015. So that should have been severe cost pressure too. So in spite of that, I mean, the turnaround strategy, I'm sure that a lot of fueling of you know currency is also required. So what was the thought and how did you turn around that?
I think it's a very, very insightful question. I think it goes to the heart of our turnaround strategy. So firstly, you are right that if I look at between 2015, 16, 17, even all the way up to 18, our margins were under pressure because we were investing. And rightly, as you said, particularly when you are investing to build out your own distribution, it is cost intensive. And we are not a publicly listed company, so we don't share our margins. But I can share with you that in 2015-16, our margins were negative. No surprise there with the kind of volumes we had. We kind of turned break even and positive in 2017. And today, our margins are comparable to the best in the industry today. Right. So today, when we have scaled up, our margins are right up there. Having said that, to answer your question, that's why our choice was to build a very productive agency force. I mentioned that when you look at the size of our agency in terms of number of agents, it's a fraction of what our competitors have. It's really a fraction. Some of them have 4 times, some of them have 5 times, some of them have 3 times. But we have a very productive agency force. And because we have a productive agency force, we've been able to kind of control our cost of acquisition on that front. But there's also another angle to it, which I'll not get too technical about, but protection by definition is the most difficult product to sell. There's a little bit of this joke. I am a very proud Indian, but there's this joke that most Indians would basically say, if I'm paying something, what am I getting in return? And I come from the Sindhi community, which is known for its, let's put it charitably, the Sindhi community is known for its ability to conserve money, right? So, अभी अगर मैं इतना पैसा दे रहा हूँ तो मुझे वापस क्या मिलेगा, right? That's the question people will ask. And in protection, you have no tangible benefit to offer as return, right? So training that protection force or agency force to sell protection and keeping them most productive was a big challenge, which went to the heart of our product design, to our process, to our training, to our communication. But we were able to pull that off, and since that strategy worked very well, we have a profitable business, we have a productive business. The other thing is I must thank both our shareholders, Tata and AIA. As you saw, they are both 100+ years in terms of groups and companies. And they were quite patient about it. So they gave us the runway to turn things around without demanding, kind of turnaround performance in a quarter, in a year, or in a year, which would not have been possible. So I think they have been absolutely fantastic in terms of their support, in terms of their kind of understanding of what we are trying to do, in terms of challenging us in the right way, in terms of guiding us in the right way. And frankly, without their patience, this would not have been possible.
Thank you for that response. Can I go to you?
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir. I am Kimaya Jamgaonkar, an undergraduate in civil engineering at IIT Madras. So we have a few questions from the students section. So the first question goes, the moment of truth in life insurance is when people realize whether the brand is going to honor the claim. So usually it is a sensitive moment as a near and dear one has passed away. So how does your firm ensure that the entire claim process has a human and empathy built in? Like Indians would naturally trust a government company like LIC to honor claims as private players haven't gained the brand equity yet. Or are you currently observing more private sector adoption happening in the case of younger Indians?
Yeah. So thank you, Kimaya. I have one condition on which I'll answer your questions, that you will not call me sir. As long as we can agree to that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right.
No, sir, no, Mr. Tahilyani. Mr. Tahilyani is my father, and sir is not in this room. So please call me Naveen. I think, look, it's a great question. It's again very insightful question. On that, I must say we have a big advantage because we carry the Tata brand. And recently there was this brand value survey, and I think for, I don't know, God knows for how many years in a row, the Tata brand was right up there in terms of being the number one in brand value in the country. I'm happy to share that as part of the same survey, when you looked at insurance category, the number one brand was LIC, but the number two brand was Tata AI. And I think that again comes from the rub-off of the Tata brand in the Indian context. So for us as a company, you rightly said that the big question the consumer is asking is, if I am not here, will the company be here to pay the claim? And with a Tata Group, which is 150 years old, has not gone away anywhere, stands for trust, reliability, dependability, doing the right thing. Our task in that sense is a little easier. Having said that, you also saw in my presentation that our claim settlement ratio was only 94% a few years ago, and I explained why 94% is only. We have worked very hard to improve it over the last few years to 98.5%. If you ask me, are we happy with it? No. We need to take it to 99% plus and then 99.5% plus. That is our aim. And some of this means improvement in the way we underwrite lives right upfront. Because the only reason you reject a claim is non-disclosure and fraud. There is no other reason to reject a claim, honestly. So I think we are working hard to improve our processes. But the fact that we have improved our claim settlement ratio, the fact that we have this brand, I think helps us a lot. Let me also answer a little bit in the context of the private sector, because you said, do people trust private sector? I think the answer to that is also yes, beyond Tata AI. Because when you look at the private sector, who are the top peers we have? You have HDFC, you have SBI Life, you have ICICI Prudential. These are all great brands. These are all brands, which again have been around for a very long time. They are synonymous with financial services. SBI is a banking powerhouse. So is HDFC and ICICI. So I don't think people are worried about these companies and their ability to pay claims. Similarly, they are not worried about us. But we have to deliver that promise, right? And today, most of us are in that 98 to 99% range. We all need to get better and cross 99. And then, as I said, 99.5%. And then we will set 100% as a milestone. Why not?
Thank you so much for your answers. It was quite insightful. Okay, so we move on to the next question, which states, how is climate change impacting life insurance business, and how are you including morbidity claims because of climate change in your underwriting?
Yeah. So I don't know who's asking these questions. This is really coming from undergraduate students. My God, the level of awareness of business is so much higher than when I passed out in 95. So firstly, I think on morbidity, India is a little peculiar that life insurers are not allowed to do a lot of health insurance. There is a discussion in the industry and it may change soon. I hope it changes soon. But right now, we are quite restricted in the nature of health insurance products we can do. So the impact of morbidity, we don't see. that is kind of seen by standalone health insurance players and general insurance players who do short-term health. By the way, India is quite unique in that sense that in all the other markets, I was in a global role with AIA for a while out of Hong Kong, and I got to learn a few other markets in Asia. And what I saw there is that life insurers are able to do health insurance as well. But we don't have that challenge, or we don't have that opportunity. But coming to your broader question on climate change, so today, climate change, does it directly impact mortality? The answer is no. Of course, for us, the big event of which has changed mortality has been COVID in the last 2 years, all the way from March 2020 till recently. Climate change hasn't had an impact, but there's a different aspect of climate change that we are working on. And I'm sure many of you may be aware that ESG, environmental, societal governance, etc., is becoming a very important part of what companies are doing. And again, this goes to the core ethos of the Tata Group, goes to the core ethos of AIA Group. AIA Group has just announced that they will be net zero in a kind of finite time frame. I must share with you that recently the Tata Group chairman convened a meeting or a conference of all the Tata Group companies, and the first session after his speech was on sustainability. So the things that we have been thinking about is how can we contribute to that sustainability. I'll give you a few examples. We ran a campaign where we told our policyholders that every time you buy a policy, after you bought a policy, we will plant a tree on your behalf. I'm very happy to share that over the last 3 years, Tata AIA has planted 6 lakh trees in this country, 6 lakh trees. And I don't know, I don't know the pecking order there, but we are very proud of the fact that we've been able to contribute this back to the society. We run campaigns with our partners and with our agents. Right now, for example, we are running a campaign with a partner called Shiksha Ka Sathi. So for all the premiums we do with that partner, we sponsor education of the girl child, right? And we hope to sponsor thousands and thousands of such girl children. With another partner, we are actually doing a different version of that called Beti Padhao. As you know, the government has had this slogan, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So we are kind of talking about Beti Padhao, and we are doing a campaign over there. Different dimension of climate change, we are completely paperless organization. Right? The reason I'm sitting with you in front of you with an iPad is because my printer is disabled. I can't take a print of my presentation. And for everything, whether it is for policy submission, servicing, claims management, customers can interact with us completely digitally, paperless. So that's one other way for us to contribute back as far as the environment side of things is concerned. So those are some of the things we are trying to do our kind of little bit to contributing back to the society and to the environment. Again, there's probably a lot more that we can do, and we'll continue to think about more ideas.
Thank you so much for your answer, sir. It was really very informative, right from the way you stated about the different campaigns you have, be it planting 6 lakh trees or be it educating the girl child. It was really very informative. Okay, so we have one more question, which states, the insurance industry depends on a number of claims as compared to the subscriber base. So how is AI helping in ensuring profitability and custom insurance premium based on health conditions and risk factors?
Maybe the connection isn't great at mine. Can you repeat the question? I didn't get it.
The insurance industry depends on a number of claims as compared to the subscriber base. So how is AI helping in ensuring profitability and custom insurance premium based on health condition and risk factors?
Yeah, no, it's a great question again. I think so. Firstly, on the first part of the question, claims on subscriber base is what we call mortality, right? And we need to have estimate of mortality by different segments, different geographies, and particularly when we invested in the strategy to go protection heavy. We increased our risk per policy because the cover that we were providing per policy was by definition the highest and is the highest in the industry today. Then there is another part of the question that you had, which is around customized policy or customized pricing. So, obviously for segments where you see lower risk, you can have a better price. Now, what we have tried to do is using machine learning, not very sophisticated stuff. Probably, if I compare it to even my own BTech project, it's probably at that level, which of course it was now almost 30 years ago. Using machine learning, but in a very targeted way, we've been able to construct a lot of models where we are able to segment the customer population into about, I don't know, somewhere between 800 to 900 micro segments across all our channels. And each micro segment has a different risk profile and a different risk characteristic attached to it. With some of these micro segments, we become comfortable enough to give them even a pre-approved sum assured offer, which is quite powerful in the sense that typically when you buy insurance, if you buy protection, you will be asked for two things. One thing you will be asked to do is to go for a medical exam because you want to make sure that the customer is healthy. And the second thing, because it is income replacement, you will be asked for a ton of financial documents. So we've been able to do away with both of these requirements in certain micro segments using machine learning. And that means obviously that all the customer has to do is pay the premium and not go through any hassle of medical or providing us their 6-month salary slips or last 3 years income tax returns. What we've also been able to do is collaborate a lot with fintech players, health tech players, because they have a lot of data of the customer. So obviously with customer consent, if we can get some data, then we are able to improve our machine learning and make sure that the outcomes are sharper and more targeted. More recently, we've been experimenting with some very cutting edge technology where if we get a 1-minute video of a customer, we are able to assess the basic health parameters of the customer, like what their age is, whether they are smoker, non-smoker. Now, smoker, non-smoker mortality rates are significantly different. So if you can establish that through a video, BMI of the customer, right? We are able to establish BMI through a video. So I think if we are able to kind of take that proof of concept and productionize it, again, it will be a fantastic use case of using AI, machine learning on a video image or on a video reel and using it for business purposes. I think the reason I said we are doing a lot of basic stuff is this space on digital technology, data, analytics, AI, ML is just kind of something that the entire industry in India and overseas, we have kind of started to use it in the last 2-3 years. And I think as we are using it, we are getting more excited about it. We are kind of finding tangible ways of using it in the business. And I think this will just explode over the next 3 to 5 years. And I think genuinely, winners in life insurance in the next 3 to 5 years will be those who are able to use technology, digital, and analytics of whatever shape and form distinctively.
Thank you so much for your answer, sir. So we have one more question. What methods would you use for taking a decision under difficult circumstances, and what are your suggestions regarding the same?
So, one thing which is different between engineering and, kind of business world is, or I would say even high school and the mathematics and physics we learned there, is that you have all the information and the task is to get to a precise answer. That's what we've been trained, right? If you go back to your 12th standard board paper or JEE, etc., right? You have to get to the right answer, but you are given all the information. So
yes,
the skill is processing that information and landing at the right answer. In the real world, you don't need to land at the right answer. You need to land at approximately the right answer. right? And because there is no right answer by definition, there's no, it's not like the answer is 99.02. There's no such thing, right? So you have to land at approximately the right answer, and you never have 100% of the information. And you have to take a decision always with a level of uncertainty. And uncertainty means, you can reduce that uncertainty by seeking more information. But that means more time. And if you spend more time seeking information, then obviously you are postponing a decision, and postponing a decision is probably as bad as not making a decision. So what at least, I found very helpful is when you have imperfect information, you go back to your team. And that's why I said, this is a team sport. And this is where teamwork matters. When you have bright guys on your team who are experts in their area, who know, who are experienced, and you invite their perspective, you brainstorm a little bit, you game plan a few scenarios, and you get multiple views on the same problem or on the same topic. It kind of clears your mind to what the possibilities are. And then somewhere you have to take a leap of faith. In business world and real world, you do have to take a leap of faith. Like we did in 2015 when we embarked on a differentiated strategy. If you put a gun to my head and said at that time in 2015, can you guarantee that in 2022 you will be number 5? Nobody can guarantee that. But you have to take a leap of faith, and you take a leap of faith and you go with it. And the second thing I would say is, what doesn't matter is whether you took the right decision or not. But are you able to monitor the outcome of your decision and course correct as you go along? Are you nimble enough to recognize whether your decision can be improved, or it is completely wrong? So is it broadly okay and you keep on improving it, or is it completely wrong and you abandon it and you course correct, right? So I think there's a lot of premium to agility in that sense, rather than being wedded to what you discussed, say 6 months ago, or what you decided 1 year ago. I don't know. I think it was, Keynes who said, when the facts change, I change my mind. And I think it's very important that when you take a decision and it is imperfect, but later you have information, more information, you go back and revisit whether your decision is okay or not okay, and don't get emotionally hung up that, oh, I took this decision, so it has to be right. How can I be wrong? I mean, all of us are human beings. We will be wrong. And, we just need to have the ability and the humility to recognize data and facts when we see them.
Thank you so much for advice, sir. It is certainly very insightful and helpful, I would say. So one last question which we have from the students is, if you had to give one suggestion to the current students, what would it be?
As I said, you guys seem to be very much more clued on than I ever was in my BTech. So I think it's great to see that. In general, I think your generation, I have a son who's 16, so he'll hopefully be studying engineering soon. That's what he wants to do. But when I look at his generation, it's so much more confident, well-informed, clear-headed than what we were. So sometimes it scares me, and I have stopped giving any advice to my son. So I don't know what advice I can give all of you. The only thing I would just say is, you should really enjoy your engineering. I mean, if you ask me, I think the 4 years I spent at IIT Madras, from an education perspective, friendship perspective, getting to know people, were great, were absolutely great. So I think make the most of the opportunity around you, whether it is with your professors and teachers, whether it is with your colleagues, whether it is in doing the kinds of projects you would like to do. I think, institutions like IIT Madras give you tremendous opportunities. And it is up to you as to what you want to do with those, how you want to use your time. Don't be hesitant to experiment. Speaking for myself, again, it's a function of our generation. We were very fussed about grades and GPA and what will be our CGPA and what will happen, if we get this CGPA or that CGPA, etc. At the end, when you look back, like now, if I look back, I passed out 27 years ago. I don't recall my CGPA. I think it was some decent number, 9.5 or 9 point something. But it doesn't matter what that CGPA was. What matters is, the friendships I built in that period, the people I got to know, the things that I learned and experimented with, and some of the rigors that engineering teaches you. Engineering teaches you how to look at problems analytically. Right? Today, I'm not solving differential equations in my role, right? But the analytical bent of mind that engineering gives you, which comes from solving different problems, is absolutely, I think it gives you a superb edge in life. Similarly, if you get a chance to do a lot of real world projects, which also I think IITM will have many more opportunities now than when I was there, pick up those real world projects, see how you can apply what you have learned to the real world in a small way, in a big way. So yeah, just be confident, experiment, make the most of your time, build some great friendships, and take it from there.
That's an awesome narration packaged in 1 minute, sir. It's fantastic, Mr. Naveen.
Indeed, sir, it is a very wonderful piece of advice for all the students here at IITM who are listening to this session of yours. Okay, so with that, we have come to an end of the Q&A session. So on behalf of the entire IIT Madras, I would like to extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Naveen for this insightful and engaging webinar. It was indeed a very informative session, sir. Thank you so much for taking out the time from your busy schedule. And I would also like to thank the audience for attending this session and their contribution in making this webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimaya. Thank you for inviting me. As I said, it was a pleasure. You still ended up calling me sir and Mr. Naveen. So hopefully, be bold. I don't make me feel older than I am. So, please. It was great to be here. Pleasure and a privilege. And as I said, thank you for the invite to all of you. And I do hope to meet some of you or all of you in person sooner rather than later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to host you on campus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.